Yesterday we chose to bike, and after swallowing more than a year's supply of bugs, we've decided to upgrade to a scooter.
Ninh Binh province in Vietnam is known for majestic natural landscapes that engulf your full attention from the moment you first lay eyes on them. The province has many famous tourist attractions, and as many visitors before, there's a very good chance your trip will be based in the village of Tam Coc, nearby many of the most significant landmarks in the region. The town is lined with shops and restaurants set up for the tourists rather than the locals, and certainly is an inviting scene to have coffee, some food, and to enjoy the scenery. Like any good tourist, we found ourselves cruising down the open roads of Ninh Binh, our destination, another famous tourist attraction. But like all good stories, this one is crafted with a twist.
So the Bich Dong Pagoda here is actually a UNESCO heritage site. There are 3 different layers of pagodas here, starting off on the ground, leading to a second layer, then one that goes behind a cave and up a bunch of stairs. It's really fascinating.
Now we're very excited to go explore, but when we came here and parked our motorbike, there was a local who came and tried to charge us way more than we were supposed to be charged for motorbike parking. The entrance to this place is actually free, so if you do come here, beware of these kinds of people. Otherwise, one of the common themes we're noticing at the pagodas here in northern Vietnam is that there's a lot of steps. Now these are stone steps, and on a morning like today when it was raining all morning, it makes it a little slippery and just a little bit more difficult to navigate. However, we find that climbing these steps up into the top of the limestone cliffs really adds to the ambiance of these pagodas and really creates some absolutely stunning views. So we're very excited to see what this one has in store for us. Now we had to be extra careful climbing those steps because they were incredibly slippery, but the view here is totally worth it. Now this pagoda was built into a side of a cliff, and behind it there's a cave that we found more steps leading up to the top. So we're gonna...
Behind the other pagoda that we saw was a small cave that led up to another set of stairs and another pagoda, equally as stunning and beautiful. All of these little pagodas hidden into the mountains are really well protected from the elements, and so they really have stood the test of time. Many of these are centuries old compared to the Ba Dinh Pagoda that we went to go see on our first day, just built about 10 years ago. It really was magnificent from its grandeur, but these ones are equally as magnificent from how long they've lasted.
At this point, you might be wondering where the twist comes in, because so far everything looks like just a normal day of sightseeing. After visiting the pagoda, we hopped back on the motorbike and drove towards the Mua Caves, a popular viewpoint. But after seeing the hordes of tourists flooding in and having the road blocked by a parking lady once again, Kirsten and I decided to scrap the tourist itinerary and head for the Ninh Binh town in search of a local experience, some local delicacies, and to prepare for the journey ahead. So we know we said in the last episode that we were staying in Ninh Binh, and while that's partially true and partially false, the reality of it is a little bit more confusing than that. So Ninh Binh itself is a city and a province. but we've been staying in a little village called Gia Vienne, which is on the other side of the mountainous territory here in Ninh Binh province. Gia Vienne is one of a number of little villages that people will often come and stay at when they want to see the sights of the Ninh Binh region. Tam Coc is probably the most popular village, and we actually drove through it earlier in this episode, but a distant second is the town of Ninh Binh itself. Now this town is not particularly touristy. It's mostly used as a jumping point by tourists to go and see the sights, but we've decided to come here today because we have a couple things that we need to address. First off, there's a dish that we've been dying to try, and it's famous in Vietnam, but particularly special in this region.
And that dish is cam chê, which we have right here. This stuff can be found on every single corner. We've chosen out cam chê cha bong, which means with pork floss. You can also get it with dried shrimp, but this is the more common one that we've been able to find. Now, cam chê is particularly famous here. And the reason for that is it all started with a love story from here. It's about a man who went to Hanoi who fell in love with a Chinese girl. And in China they have a dish that's very similar to cam chê. And so he wanted to impress her family, but he couldn't. So he left her and came back to Ninh Binh, perfected the dish of cam chê, and won her family's hearts over. Aww. And it is Valentine's Day after all, so we might as well eat something that has a love story behind it. It doesn't really smell like much. So there are two big rice cakes here, but there's only pork floss on this top little bit, which is funny because that's exactly the part that shows through the window on the bag. It's pretty bland. It tastes like a greasier version of puffed rice. But let's try it with the pork floss and see if that adds oomph to the flavor.
Now we haven't had a good swim since we got here to Vietnam, so another thing we were hoping to address is have a nice refreshing cool dip here in the Ninh Binh city itself. Looks right for a dip, doesn't it? The second thing we were hoping to address today is to get some sort of bed sheets or sleeping bag because we're taking a sleeper train to our next destination here in Vietnam. Now we're unsure about the cleanliness of the sheets that they provide, so we just think this is the best opportunity to make sure our hygiene stays up to appropriate levels. Hello, xin chào.
Đây.
Two? Money? Yeah. Money?
180.000.
Hi?
Đây một cái, đây hai cái đây.
There we go, she got that now. Yeah. Do you want to get two of those beauties?
How much did she say for it?
180. So I'll say 200.
100 á?
Okay?
Chưa được.
No.
Vâng.
Okay.
Đây này.
Let's see what else she comes back with.
Đấy.
300.
Bớt rồi.
We'll get this down there. We'll say 220. We'll get her down there. We'll get her to 250. How bad do you want this? No? Okay. No, okay.
Này. Đây. Đấy.
Sometimes walking away is the best negotiation tactic.
Đấy như thế này là được nhá.
Oh. Are you good with 250?
250 would be best.
Are you good with that? Okay. Come on. Okay, mission accomplished. We got 2 bed sheets for the train ride. Now, just a word for the wise. When we were first talking about only getting 1, she quoted me 180,000 dong, and I was able to barter her down to 250,000 dong for 2. So it just goes to show that a little bit of bartering can go a long way here in Vietnam.
Well, sometimes things just don't go according to plan. The third thing that we were trying to do here was eat some snails, because they are supposed to be really good from this region, and unfortunately tonight we were just not able to find them. But don't worry, I'm sure somewhere else in Vietnam we'll be able to find snails.
Thank you so much for watching to this point. If you guys like the video, give us a thumbs up. If you want to follow more of our travel adventures, please hit subscribe and maybe even that little bell notification to let you know when our new videos come out. And otherwise, we will see you in the next video.
Bye.